My son wrote, "Don't expect me to take care of you in old age. I have my own life and responsibilities." I read it 3 times, then calmly replied, "Understood," and scheduled a meeting with my attorney. When he found out what I'd done, he burst into my house with his wife and a police officer, and I'm so glad you're here with me now. Please like this video and listen to my story till the end, and let me know which city you're listening from. That way I can see how far my story has traveled. My name is Catherine Morrison, and I'm 70 years old. I know I don't look it. People always tell me I look closer to 58. I've been blessed with good genes, good health, and the discipline to take care of myself. I walk 5 miles every morning. I do yoga 3 times a week. My mind is sharp, my body is strong. And until 6 months ago, I thought my family was solid too. I'm a widow. My husband, George, passed away 12 years ago from pancreatic cancer. We'd been married for 38 years. He was the love of my life, my best friend, my partner in everything. When he died, I thought I'd die too, but I didn't. I kept going, mostly for our son. Daniel is 42 years old. He's our only child. We tried for years to have more, but it wasn't meant to be. So we poured everything into Daniel. Every resource, every opportunity, every ounce of love we had. We paid for his private school education. We paid for his college at Northwestern. We paid for his graduate degree in business. We helped him with the down payment on his first house. We gave him seed money for his startup company. When that failed, we didn't ask for the money back. We just supported him through it. George and I weren't wealthy, but we were comfortable. George worked as a civil engineer. I was a high school English teacher for 35 years. We saved carefully. We invested wisely. We lived modestly so we could give Daniel the life we never had. After George died, I inherited everything we'd built together. The house, his pension, his life insurance, our retirement accounts. It came to about $1.2 million. That might sound like a lot, but at my age, with healthcare costs and inflation, it's just enough to live comfortably for the rest of my life. Daniel has always known about the money, not the exact amount, but he knew his father and I had been responsible. He knew there would be an inheritance someday, but someday wasn't soon enough for him, apparently. The first hint of trouble came 3 years ago. Daniel and his wife, Vanessa, invited me to dinner. It was Daniel's 39th birthday. We went to a nice steakhouse downtown in Chicago, where I've lived for 45 years. Over dessert, Daniel said, "Mom, Vanessa and I have been talking. We think you should sell the house." I was confused. Sell the house? Why? "It's too big for you. Dad's been gone for 9 years. You're rattling around in that 4-bedroom place all by yourself. You should downsize to a condo or maybe one of those nice retirement communities." I'm 65 years old, not 85. I don't need a retirement community. "We're just thinking about your future, Mom, your safety." I'm perfectly safe. I have a security system. The neighbors watch out for me. I love that house. Your father and I built our life there. Vanessa chimed in. "But Eleanor, wouldn't it be nice to have less maintenance, no yard work, no repairs? You could travel more, enjoy your retirement." Something about the way she said it made me uncomfortable, like she'd rehearsed it. I appreciate the concern, but I'm happy where I am. Daniel got that tight look on his face, the one he'd had since he was a little boy when he didn't get his way. "We're just trying to help." "I know, sweetheart, but I don't need that kind of help right now." The subject was dropped, but I could feel the tension for the rest of the dinner. Over the next year, the suggestions kept coming, always framed as concern for my well-being, always with that underlying pressure. "Mom, have you thought about giving us power of attorney, just in case something happens?" "Mom, you should really consider putting the house in a trust for estate planning purposes." "Mom, Vanessa and I found this great financial advisor. Maybe you should talk to him about managing your assets." I started to feel like prey being circled by predators, but these were my son and daughter-in-law. I pushed the feeling away. They were just concerned. They were just trying to help. Then came the requests for money. It started small. "Mom, our roof needs replacing. Could you lend us $15,000? We'll pay you back when Daniel's bonus comes through." I gave them the money. The bonus apparently never came. I never asked about repayment because that's not what family does, right? 6 months later, Mom, the kids need braces. Insurance only covers part of it. Could you help with $8,000? I gave them the money. Daniel and Vanessa have 3 kids. Sophie is 14, Mason is 12, and Lily is 8. I love those grandchildren fiercely. Of course I'd help with their medical needs. But then I ran into my neighbor, whose daughter is an orthodontist. "Oh, Eleanor, I heard Sophie is getting braces. My daughter would have given you the family discount if you'd come to her." "Sophie already has braces." "Really? I just saw her yesterday and her teeth look the same." Sophie didn't have braces. She never had braces. So where did that $8,000 go? I started paying attention, really paying attention. The next request came 4 months later. "Mom, we need $12,000 for Mason's private basketball camp. He's got real talent and this camp has scouts." I told them I needed to think about it. That was the first time I'd ever said no, even partially. Daniel's response was immediate and angry. "Are you serious? Your grandson has a shot on something special and you need to think about it? Dad would be so disappointed." That line, Dad would be so disappointed. He knew exactly how to twist the knife. But I held firm. "Let me see the brochure for the camp. Let me research it." There was no camp. I searched online for every elite basketball camp in the region. None of them cost $12,000. None of them were recruiting 12-year-olds. When I asked Daniel for more information, he got defensive. "Forget it. We'll figure it out ourselves. I should have known better than to ask." The guilt trip was spectacular, but I didn't give in. That's when the visit stopped. For 8 months, I barely heard from Daniel. No Sunday dinners, no holiday visits. When I called, he was always busy. When I texted, the responses were curt. "Can't talk in a meeting. Busy with the kids. Vanessa and I have plans." My grandchildren's birthdays came and went. I sent gifts. I got thank you texts that I'm fairly certain Daniel or Vanessa wrote, not the kids. I was being punished for setting a boundary, for daring to ask questions. My friend Dorothy, whom I've known since we were both teaching at Lincoln High, finally said what I'd been afraid to acknowledge. "Eleanor, they're manipulating you. This is financial elder abuse." "It's not abuse. Daniel is just going through a hard time financially." "Is he? What does he do for work?" "He's a consultant, business strategy." "And Vanessa? She's a stay-at-home mom. Do they live beyond their means?" I thought about their house, 5 bedrooms in a wealthy suburb, new cars every 2 years, designer clothes, expensive vacations. Maybe. And they're funding that lifestyle with your money. I didn't want to believe it. This was my son, the baby I'd rocked to sleep, the little boy who'd made me Mother's Day cards, the young man who'd cried at his father's funeral and held my hand through the service. But Dorothy was right, and I needed to face it. I made an appointment with my financial advisor. "Susan, I need to review all my accounts and see exactly where I stand." We went through everything. I'd given Daniel and Vanessa $73,000 over the past 3 years. $73,000. "Catherine," Susan said carefully, "this is a significant amount. At this rate, you'll deplete your assets much faster than planned. You need to stop." "I know." What I didn't know was that Daniel had access to my financial accounts. Years ago, when George first got sick, we'd added Daniel as a joint account holder on one checking account, just in case something happened and he needed to pay bills for us. I'd forgotten about it, never closed it after George died. Daniel saw the payment to Richard Foster's law firm. He knew what it meant. 2 weeks after I'd signed the new will, my doorbell rang at 8 a.m. on a Saturday. I looked through the peephole and felt my heart sink. Daniel stood there, but he wasn't alone. Vanessa was with him, and so was a police officer. I opened the door. "Daniel?" "Mom, we need to talk. Can Officer Rodriguez come in too?" "Why is there a police officer at my door?" "Because we're worried about you," Vanessa said, her voice dripping with fake concern. "We think someone might be taking advantage of you." Officer Rodriguez looked uncomfortable. "Ma'am, I'm here because your son filed a report claiming you might be the victim of elder abuse. I need to ask you some questions." "I'm not a victim of anything except my son's greed." "Mom, don't be like that," Daniel said, pushing past me into my house. "We saw you paid some lawyer. We're worried someone is manipulating you." "The only people who have manipulated me are standing in my living room right now." Officer Rodriguez held up his hand. Ma'am, can you tell me about your recent financial activity? I updated my will. That's what adults do. That's what responsible people do. Did anyone pressure you to make changes? No, I made these decisions independently with the advice of my attorney, which is my right. Daniel jumped in. She's not thinking clearly, officer. She's 68 years old. She just gave away our entire inheritance to strangers. It's my money to give away however I choose. But Mom, I'm not your retirement plan, Daniel. I'm not your ATM. I spent 42 years raising you, loving you, giving you every opportunity, and you've repaid me by lying, stealing, and manipulating me. We never stole. The $8,000 for braces Sophie never got, the $12,000 for a basketball camp that doesn't exist, the $15,000 for a roof you never replaced, that's fraud, Daniel. That's theft. Officer Rodriguez was now looking at Daniel with new interest. Sir, is this true? It's a misunderstanding, Vanessa said quickly. Eleanor is confused about. I'm not confused. I have documentation, bank records, text messages. I can prove every lie. Officer Rodriguez turned to me. Ma'am, do you feel safe? Not with them in my house. Do you want to file a complaint? I thought about it, really thought about it. Not today, but I want them to leave. You're making a mistake, Mom, Daniel said, his voice turning cold. A huge mistake. The mistake was not doing this years ago. Officer Rodriguez, can you please escort them out? The officer did. Daniel and Vanessa left, but not before Vanessa hissed, You're going to regret this. We'll fight this. You'll never see your grandchildren again. The door closed. Officer Rodriguez stayed behind for a moment. Ma'am, that was brave, but I want you to be careful. Family disputes can escalate. I know. Thank you. After he left, I called Richard. Daniel knows about the will. He just showed up with a police officer. Are you safe? For now, but I think this is just the beginning. Richard's voice was grim. You're probably right. Let me file for a restraining order if he continues to harass you. The harassment started within hours. My phone started buzzing, text after text after text. Mom, please don't do this. You're destroying our family. The kids are crying. They don't understand why Grandma hates them. Dad would be ashamed of you. You're a selfish, bitter old woman. I hope you die alone. That last one came at 2 a.m. I lay in bed reading it by the light of my phone and felt something break inside me. My son hoped I would die alone. I saved all the messages. I took screenshots. I documented everything. The next morning, my Facebook feed exploded. Daniel had posted a long message about how his elderly mother was being taken advantage of by predatory lawyers, how she was cutting him out of his will after years of his devoted care, how he was worried about her mental state. The post was shared 200 times within hours. Extended family members I hadn't spoken to in years commented. Some supported Daniel. Some messaged me privately to ask what was really going on. I didn't respond. Richard had advised me not to engage on social media. But then Daniel went further. He called my former school district, claimed I was showing signs of dementia, and they should be aware in case I tried to volunteer. I'd been volunteering as a reading tutor once a week. I loved it. The principal called me, embarrassed. Catherine, I received a very strange call from your son. He's claiming you're not mentally competent. I told him that's ridiculous. You're as sharp as ever. Thank you, Janet. My son is upset that I've set financial boundaries. Do you need anything? Should we be concerned? I'm fine, but I may need to take a break from volunteering until this settles down. My heart broke. Daniel was reaching into every part of my life, trying to poison it. Richard filed for the restraining order that week. We included the text messages, the Facebook post, the call to my former employer, everything. The judge granted a temporary restraining order. Daniel was to stay 500 feet away from me and cease all contact. When he was served with the papers, he called me from Vanessa's phone. I made the mistake of answering. I can't believe you got a restraining order against your own son. You told me you hoped I would die alone. You called my former workplace to try to damage my reputation. What did you expect? I was upset. You're taking away everything we've counted on. I'm not taking away anything, Daniel. You're never entitled to my money. That's not how it works. Yes, I was. I'm your son. That's how families work. No, that's how your family works, where you use and manipulate and take until there's nothing left. "Mom, don't call me again. Don't text. Don't send people to my house. Leave me alone." I hung up and blocked Vanessa's number too. But 3 days later, he tried again, this time through my neighbor, Mrs. Patterson. She knocked on my door looking uncomfortable. "Catherine, I'm sorry to bother you, but Daniel called me. He's very upset. He asked me to check on you. He's worried you're not taking your medications." "I don't take any medications except a daily vitamin. I'm in perfect health." "That's what I thought. He seemed very insistent you were confused. I told him you seemed fine to me." "Thank you, Mrs. Patterson. Daniel and I are having some family difficulties. I'm sorry he's dragging you into it." That was a violation of the restraining order, contacting me through third parties. Richard filed a complaint. The judge extended the restraining order to 1 year and warned Daniel that any further violations would result in contempt charges. 6 months passed, 6 months of silence from Daniel, 6 months of peace. I started going to a support group for estranged parents. I wasn't alone. The room was full of mothers and fathers who'd given everything to their children only to be discarded or exploited. We shared our stories. We cried together. We slowly healed. I started therapy with Dr. Patricia Summers. She specialized in family estrangement and grief. "Catherine, you're grieving 2 losses," she told me. "The loss of the son you thought you had and the loss of the relationship you hoped to have." How do I stop feeling guilty? By recognizing that you didn't cause this. You set reasonable boundaries. Daniel's reaction is his choice, not your fault. The therapy helped. So did the support group. So did my friends who rallied around me. Dorothy, my friend from my teaching days, became even closer. "You did the right thing," she told me over coffee. "I watched you give and give and give. I'm proud of you for finally putting yourself first." My former teaching colleague, Marcus, reached out. "Catherine, I heard through the grapevine what's happening. I went through something similar with my daughter. It gets easier, I promise." I started traveling, something I'd put off for years because I was always available in case Daniel needed me. I went to Santa Fe with Dorothy. I took a river cruise in Europe with a group from my church. I visited national parks and museums and places George and I had always planned to see. I was 70 years old and finally living for myself. 10 months after the restraining order, I received a letter in the mail, not from Daniel, from an attorney named Michael Brennan. He was representing Daniel in a lawsuit. Daniel was suing me for what he called breach of verbal contract and unjust enrichment. He claimed I'd promised him to leave my estate. He claimed he'd provided care for me that entitled him to compensation. The lawsuit sought $500,000 in damages, $500,000. I called Richard immediately. "Did you see?" "I saw. Catherine, this is completely frivolous. He has no case, but you'll need to respond." "Can he actually win?" "No, there's no verbal contract. There's no documentation of any promise, and he certainly hasn't provided care. But frivolous lawsuits still require responses. It'll be stressful and possibly expensive, but you'll win." The court date was set for 3 months out. In the meantime, I had to live with the knowledge that my only son was suing me for money I'd never promised him. My grandchildren's birthdays came during this time. Sophie turned 15, Mason turned 13, Lily turned 9. I sent cards to them through Richard's office with gift cards enclosed. I had no idea if they ever received them. I missed those kids desperately, but Vanessa had made good on her threat. I hadn't seen or heard from them in almost a year. The day before the court hearing, I barely slept, not because I was worried about losing. Richard had assured me the case was baseless, but because I'd have to face Daniel in court, my only child, the boy I'd raised. The courtroom was small and stuffy. Daniel and Vanessa sat on one side with their attorney, Michael Brennan. I sat on the other side with Richard. The judge was a man in his early 60s named Judge Thomas Martinez. He reviewed the documents before we even began. "Mr. Brennan," he said, looking at Daniel's attorney, "you're claiming breach of verbal contract?" "Yes, Your Honor. Mrs. Mitchell promised my client that he would inherit her estate. He reasonably relied on this promise." "Where is documentation of this promise?" "It was verbal, Your Honor, a promise between mother and son." "Did Mrs. Mitchell ever sign anything, put anything in writing?" "No, but..." Did Mrs. Mitchell ever specifically state, Daniel, you will inherit everything when I die? She implied it, Your Honor, through her pattern of financial support. Judge Martinez looked skeptical. So because Mrs. Mitchell was generous to her son, she's now legally obligated to leave him her entire estate? When someone creates a reasonable expectation, Mr. Brennan, parents are allowed to change their wills for any reason or no reason at all, unless you can show a specific documented promise, you have no case. Richard stood. Your Honor, if I may, I'd like to enter into evidence documentation of financial exploitation. Mrs. Morrison gave her son $73,000 over 3 years. Much of this money was obtained through fraudulent claims. He submitted the spreadsheet I'd created, the text messages, the proof that Sophie never got braces, that the basketball camp didn't exist. Judge Martinez reviewed it all. His expression grew increasingly stern. Mr. Mitchell, he said, looking at Daniel, did you lie to your mother about why you needed money? Daniel stammered. There were misunderstandings. Yes or no? Did you tell her you needed $8,000 for your daughter's braces when your daughter never received braces? Silence. Did you tell her you needed $12,000 for a basketball camp that doesn't exist? More silence. Your Honor, Michael Brennan interjected, these are family matters, not these are matters of fraud, Mr. Brennan. Your client has been systematically defrauding his elderly mother, and now he has the audacity to sue her for not giving him more? Judge Martinez looked at me. Mrs. Morrison, do you have documentation of your mental competency? Richard handed him the psychiatric evaluation, the letter from my doctor, and a recent cognitive assessment I'd had done specifically for this hearing. Judge Martinez read through everything. Then he looked at Daniel with something like disgust. Mr. Mitchell, your mother is clearly of sound mind. She has every right to distribute her estate as she sees fit. The fact that you lied to her repeatedly, harassed her, violated a restraining order, and are now suing her tells me everything I need to know about your character. He banged his gavel. Case dismissed with prejudice. Mr. Mitchell, you are ordered to pay Mrs. Mitchell's legal fees, and I'm strongly advising you to leave your mother alone before you face criminal charges for fraud. Daniel's face went purple with rage. Vanessa started crying. As we filed out, Daniel tried to approach me. Richard stepped between us immediately. Stay away from her. You heard the judge. Mom, please. Daniel's voice cracked. Please, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I looked at him, really looked at him, and I saw not my son, but a stranger, a manipulative, greedy stranger who happened to share my DNA. You told me you hoped I'd die alone, I said quietly. I think you're going to get your wish, not because I'll be alone, but because you won't be there. I walked away, Richard beside me, and for the first time in over a year, I felt light. 3 months later, on a Tuesday afternoon, my doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole and froze. Sophie stood on my doorstep, my 15-year-old granddaughter, alone. I opened the door. Sophie? She burst into tears and threw herself into my arms. Grandma, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I held her, this girl I hadn't seen in over a year, and let her cry. When she finally pulled back, her face was red and puffy. I didn't know, Grandma. Mom and Dad told us you didn't want to see us anymore, that you'd said we were too expensive. But then Mason found legal papers in Dad's office. We saw everything. The lawsuit, the things Dad said about you. My heart clenched. Oh, sweetheart. I took the bus here. Mom and Dad don't know I'm here, but I had to see you. I had to tell you that I love you, that we all love you, that we never wanted to stop seeing you. I brought her inside, made her hot chocolate like I used to when she was little, let her talk. Dad's been so angry all the time. He lost his job. Mom has to work now. They fight constantly about money, about you. Dad says you ruined everything. I didn't ruin anything, Sophie. I just stopped letting myself be used. I know. I read the court papers. I saw what Dad did. The lies about my braces and Mason's camp. I can't believe he did that. I'm sorry you had to find out that way. I'm sorry Dad did it. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. Grandma, can I still see you, even if Mom and Dad don't want me to? I thought about it carefully. You're 15, and in most states you're old enough to have some say in who you see, but I don't want to cause more problems between you and your parents. They've already caused all the problems. I just want my grandma back. We talked for 2 hours about school, about her friends, about her dreams of becoming a veterinarian, about everything we'd missed over the past year. When it was time for her to go, I gave her my new phone number. Text me anytime. Call me anytime. Even if your parents don't like it, you're old enough to make your own choices about our relationship. She hugged me tight. I love you, Grandma. I love you too, sweetheart. So much. After she left, I called Richard to tell him what happened. Is this going to be a legal problem? Sophie is 15. She has a right to see her grandmother if she chooses. As long as you're not violating any custody orders or parenting plans, you're fine. But Catherine, be prepared for Daniel to lose his mind when he finds out. He was right. The next day, I received a furious call from Vanessa. You had Sophie come to your house? After everything? You're trying to turn our children against us. I didn't have Sophie do anything. She showed up on her own because you've been lying to her for over a year. We protected her from your toxicity. You lied to her. You told her I didn't want to see you. That's not protection. That's manipulation. If you contact any of my children again, they're not just your children, Vanessa. They're my grandchildren. And Sophie is old enough to decide for herself who she wants in her life. We'll see about that. She hung up. True to form, Daniel tried to weaponize the situation. He sent me a cease and desist letter threatening legal action if I contacted his children again. Richard responded with our own letter pointing out that Sophie initiated contact and that she was old enough to maintain a relationship with her grandmother without parental permission in our state. But something unexpected happened. Mason reached out too, then Lily. It started with emails, then texts, then calls. My grandchildren had found me despite their parents' attempts to keep us apart. They were angry at Daniel and Vanessa, angry about the lies, angry about being used as pawns. Sophie, especially, was old enough to understand what really happened. Dad's always been about money, she told me during one of our secret coffee dates. I just didn't realize how bad it was until I saw those court papers. 6 months after Sophie's first visit, all 3 kids were seeing me regularly, not at my house where Daniel might find out and cause a scene, but at coffee shops, parks, the library. We'd meet for lunch, go to movies, have the relationship I'd been denied for over a year. Daniel found out, of course. Parents always do. He showed up at my house one evening, but this time he was alone. No Vanessa, no police officer, no lawyer. He looked terrible. He'd lost weight. His hair was graying at the temples. He looked 10 years older than his 42 years. Can we talk? He asked when I opened the door. Every instinct told me to say no, to close the door, to protect myself. But he was still my son, despite everything. 5 minutes, I said. On the porch. You're not coming inside. We sat on my porch swing, the one George had installed 30 years ago, the same swing where I'd rocked Daniel as a baby during summer evenings. I'm sorry, he said, and his voice cracked. Mom, I'm so sorry. I said nothing, just waited. I've been going to therapy, court-ordered at first after the restraining order, but I kept going, and I'm starting to understand what I did to you. What did you do to me, Daniel? I used you. I lied to you. I saw you as a bank account instead of my mother, and when you finally stood up for yourself, I tried to destroy you. Tears ran down his face, real tears, not the crocodile tears I'd seen so many times. I'm Vanessa and I separated, he continued. She's filing for divorce. Turns out she was having an affair with her personal trainer. She married me for financial security, and when that disappeared, so did she. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt sad. I'm sorry you're hurting, I said, and I meant it. But Daniel, you didn't lose these things randomly. You lost them because of choices you made. I know. You lied to me for years. You manipulated me. You brought a police officer to my house. You sued me. You told me you hoped I'd die alone. He flinched at each statement. I know, and I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even know if I deserve forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I finally understand what I've done, and I'm sorry. So deeply sorry. We sat in silence for a long moment. What do you want from me, Daniel? Nothing. I don't want anything. I just wanted to apologize, to tell you that you were right about everything, and that I'm trying to be better, for myself, for my kids, not to get back in your will or to manipulate you, just to be a better person. I looked at this man, my son, and tried to see if this was another con, another manipulation, but all I saw was genuine remorse and exhaustion. "I appreciate the apology," I said carefully. "But Daniel, trust isn't rebuilt with words. It's rebuilt with consistent actions over time." "I understand. I'm not going to change my will. I'm not going to start giving you money again. Those boundaries are permanent." "I understand that too. But if you're genuinely committed to changing, to doing the work, to being a better father to your children, then maybe someday we can have some kind of relationship again. Not what we had, that's gone, but something new, something healthier." His face lit up with hope. "Really?" "Maybe, in a few years, if you prove through your actions that you've changed. But Daniel, if you slip back into old patterns, if you lie to me again or manipulate me or ask for money, we're done, permanently. Do you understand?" "Yes, I understand. Thank you, Mom. Thank you for even considering it." He left. I watched him drive away and felt something I hadn't felt in 2 years. Hope. Small, fragile, cautious hope. That was 14 months ago. I'm 72 now. I just celebrated my birthday last week with Dorothy, Sophie, Mason, Lily, and a group of friends from my support group. Daniel sent me a card. Just a card, nothing else. It said, "Happy birthday, Mom. I hope you had a wonderful day. You deserve all the happiness in the world. Love, Daniel." No request for reconciliation, no guilt trip, just a simple birthday wish. Sophie tells me he's doing better. He found a new job, a more modest one. He moved to a smaller apartment. He's consistent with his therapy. He's trying to rebuild his relationship with his kids, slowly, patiently, without expectations. "He's different, Grandma," Sophie told me last month. "He's not perfect, but he's trying, really trying." I don't know if Daniel and I will ever have a real relationship again. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But I've learned something crucial over these past few years. My worth isn't determined by whether my son loves me. My peace isn't dependent on his approval. My life isn't defined by being his mother. I'm Catherine Morrison. I'm 72 years old. I'm in excellent health. I have wonderful friendships. I have a close relationship with my grandchildren. I volunteer. I travel. I'm writing a memoir about my teaching career. I'm living a full, rich, meaningful life. And yes, sometimes I'm lonely. Sometimes I grieve the relationship I thought I'd have with my son. Sometimes I wish things had been different. But I don't regret protecting myself. I don't regret setting boundaries. I don't regret choosing my own dignity over being someone's ATM. The scholarship fund I established has already helped 8 students become teachers. The hospice received a donation that funded a new wing. My grandchildren will have education trusts waiting for them when they turn 25, regardless of what their parents do. This is legacy, not money sitting in an account waiting to be inherited, but actual impact on real people's lives. What would you do if your own child saw you as nothing but a paycheck? Would you have the courage to walk away? Would you choose yourself? I hope you never have to make that choice, but if you do, I hope my story gives you the strength to protect yourself, because you deserve respect, you deserve dignity, you deserve peace. No matter how old you are, no matter who's asking, no matter how guilty they try to make you feel, you deserve better. Thank you for listening to my story. If this resonated with you, please like this video and share it. And remember, setting boundaries isn't cruelty, it's self-love. From my heart to yours, wherever you are in the world, I wish you the courage to choose yourself when you need to. Thank you, and God bless.